Hello, everyone. My name is Shelly Dressel, and welcome to my channel. Tonight, I'm going to be channeling the universal light beings. Albayon is from Arcturus, and we actually have an ascended version. Albayon has transitioned out. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Brysentia comes from the Pleiades, and then Crystallia from the Omniverse. So these three are light beings that I've worked with for many, many years, and they always bring forth information about what's going on. Is kind of giving us that galactic perspective instead of looking at it from down here in the trenches. And to me, that always gives me more of a sense of understanding, even when I'm like, what the heck's going on here? It helps to just give us that new perspective and remind us of really what's happening here on the planet. So for those of you that might not have been here the last time, Alexander, who was always helping me with this, who was great help, has moved on to different things. And so I'm kind of keeping the time, putting in the questions, reading the questions, kind of going back and forth. I was pleased with last time. I think it went just fine. There was no problem at all. But if there's a slowness or a delay or something like that, it's because that's what I'm doing now. I did it for many years before he came, and it was just very nice that that he was able to help me for so very long. But life is ever changing, is it not? So what's going on? I had felt that Albayon was a little bit distant and that his energies weren't quite as specific, like when he would give us answers and things. And I just said, what's going on here? And I asked for like 2 weeks or so, and or maybe 10 days, something like that. But I was like, there's something happening. And then I believe it was Sunday or Monday of this week, I finally was able to make an integration. And so basically, Albayon is now coming through as a different aspect of himself. We've talked about it many, many times. You have all these various different lifetimes, and each of those are like a little piece of your soul going out to live this life and bring that energy and information back into the whole soul. So same is true for the galactic beings also. And so this is Albayon. It does come from the same soul essence, but the Albayon that we've been working with, I feel as if he's gone on, he's still, a ship's captain, but he's gone on to another area or to do something else. So Albayon that we will have going forward is still Albayon, like I said, but he's much more of a higher frequency. And they transitioned like this for several reasons. Number one, I'm transitioning, just as each one of you are transitioning. And so this is something that is just a subtle adjustment so that so that he can still do the job that he needs to do, and the one we've been working with can go do his job that he needs to do. And Brysentia, I think maybe we did this a while ago because I felt a change, but I just thought, we're constantly moving through and changing things. Like for other people, if you are working with your own guides, or if you do any channeling or stuff, you may feel that too. Those that have been with the goddess of creation and they're like, hey, who's talking? Who is this? They could feel the transition of the goddess as things keep going. So this is all very, very normal. It's what happens from time to time. I never know, exactly when or what's going on, but that's what this was about. This was about him transitioning. In fact, I changed the picture on the website, and I sent out, for those of you that get the email that I sent out today, I sent this picture. Hey, guess what? AI, ChatGPT created it. I've actually had kind of fun with that. I've worked with like 3 different ones now. And from my perspective, I like ChatGPT. And so anyway, I was saying, and it sent me like 4 or 5 images. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. But the one that I use feels very much like it. Now, to me, he does not have as much of a mouth or, or a nose or things like that because the Arcturians don't. But as far as that purpley light and radiating and all that white light that's coming out, and, there was another one that the eyes were like really intense crystals, and I didn't use that one because it was just a little too intense, but maybe I'll get there at some point. So anyway, some of you may say, oh, he feels the same to me. perfectly fine. Others of you may say, oh, he feels a little different to me, I can tell. So I have talked ever since the equinox that we had, which is what, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And every single thing that has happened since then has been about giving us light codes, about the transition in the energy, the raising of the vibration. And so all of this that's going on is helping us to integrate at that higher level frequency. And that goes in alignment with this. So anyway, it's really very exciting. So I said, because I had asked him, well, do you want a different name? No. Albayon 2.0? No. Just Albayon. So I thought that was very funny. But anyway, just as I am who I am, I keep changing. I keep raising my frequency. I keep, integrating more and more. I'm not changing my name each time. So it makes sense. Okay. So that's happening now. Now, let's see. I think it'll be about the 30th or something like that. Gosh, we will have had 3 this month. So the next time we get together, we'll be about 2 weeks out on the 30th or something like that. And then in August, I'm the end of August, early September, I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. So I won't be doing, the goddess or this one. So I just have to wait and see how that all goes. But anyway, I'm excited to have a trip away. I haven't done that for a few years now. It's only been long weekends and stuff like that. So that's going to be nice. Okay, I guess, but between now and then, I've been implementing those email channels. And I've had several of those. That's really fun to do. I love doing that. And then a private session, just if you want to do on Zoom or telephone. So just reach out, look at either one of my websites. You can find the information in there. And that's what I'm up to. It's the summertime. Also trying to spend time with my grandkids and, do fun stuff too. All right. So many people have come in. Maggie, Jill and Ed, Monica. And I saw Sophie before that, Liz, so many people. I just love it. And thank you very much, Kevin. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us these troubling times. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, from Wales. I always think, the world is a beautiful place, but whenever I see like Wales or I see some of these places, I'd like to go there sometime. Because I always think of Wales as being very rocky and full of trees and dragons. And so maybe not, I don't know. That's what I think when I think of Wales. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I truly appreciate it. Sophie, thank you. Mentioned she likes doing private sessions. So thank you very much, Sophie. Okay, so I am just going to jump in here and we shall begin. Greetings, it is I, Albayon. I come to you at this time to speak about the ascension that is taking place. There's the ascension of your planet, the ascension of the universe, the ascension of individuals. Everything is interrelated. And I believe that, I've got several things to share with you this evening. And we may have a little bit of the start and stop. This is our first time doing a long channel like this. Sorry, you see what I mean? We're just downloading. We're just getting everything worked out. It's all good. Phew. Okay. So just speaking of ascension and transition and changing, you guys, the more that you move through this process, the deeper your connection to your own soul is going to be. This is a spiritual ascension, which is what? Opening up, acknowledging that spiritually you are more than just this lifetime. You are more than just this person right here. And if you take that and multiply it times the billions of people that you have on your planet, that's a lot of soul essence that is there on the planet that is, percolating along, interacting with one another. There are many that just are somewhat disconnected. There are some groups of people that are just small, compact groups of people that aren't really a part of the whole. They are becoming a part of the whole. But this is just, I kind of jumped into some minutia there. But my point is that when you have this many people that are living cohesively on the planet, then what happens to one is going to happen to everybody else. Now, that doesn't mean one person is out there leading the way and dragging the entire rest of the planet along with them. It is nothing like that at all. But you have millions, if not as much as a billion of you that are actually in this place of the high light vibrational frequency. And what that means is that you're able to tap into with much greater ease a larger amount of your own soul essence. And through that, you can tap into the galactic essence or the galactic energies. You can go straight into the galactic energies, frequencies. You have your own aspect of you that is living out in the universe. Now, for someone like me, where I come from Arcturus, and, this is clear across the, what do you call that? The universe for me to get here. And so I don't bring with me like my entire soul essence. There is an aspect of the soul that is kind of anchored out in here. And then there's the Albayon that you've been accustomed to. There's me, and there's maybe two others that are working in this general part of the universe. With all of you that are here, the vast majority, I should say, you've got a huge amount of your soul that is invested in this planet or this part of the universe. So what does that mean? That when you tap back into your soul, the more that you are conscious of the frequencies, the vibrations, the changes, what it represents to you, the easier you have to be able to say, hey, I'd like to know more about Sirius. I'd like to know more about Andromeda. I'd like to know more about, and you can easily communicate or connect to individuals that are there because you are vibrating at a similar frequency. So when you take all that information and you bring it down into each one of you as the human that you are, it's a massive thing. It's a massive change. Okay, so that was one thing and that kind of goes along with what I was doing. But I want each of you to understand that you are really, really, really very far along this ascension process. There are times when things show up, and I know because that is one of the things that I am planning to talk about, but there are times when things happen on this planet that cause people to say, whoa, what the heck? What is going on? I must be wrong. There must be something else happening. I don't understand. And what that does is that causes people to kind of slide back down into either sliding out of that soul frequency and more into your ego, or it causes you to slide back down into that place where you're questioning everything again. Is that a good, bad, or in between? It's nothing. It's none of the above. But what it does is every time that you do something like that, it gives you an opportunity to go inside, take some deep breaths, and say, okay, they're telling me this. But what do I know inside of myself? They're saying that this happened over here, but does that really resonate with me? They're saying that there is this list. They've been talking about it for the past 8 years, but now suddenly it's not. What is really going on inside of you? Because this is where you don't know what you can believe and what you cannot believe. I'm not saying that because of the people that are giving the information, but I'm saying that because those that are referred to as the nefarious ones are at their last leg. They have been at their last leg for probably 9 months to a year now, and they're doing everything possible they can to disrupt and to corrupt and to bring things down as much as is possible. So be aware that when you see things, you cannot always believe it. Be aware that when you hear things, you cannot always believe it. And this is giving you two things that you can work with. The first thing is it will strengthen your own divinity. It will strengthen your intuition. It will strengthen within you the ability to trust in yourself and to tap into that collective energy of all of you that are already here and ascended and say, hey guys, let's talk about this. And you can do this in your meditation. You can do this in your prayers. And many of you do it in your sleep state. And then you wake up in the next morning and you feel exhausted. Well, because you've been out communicating with everybody throughout the time that you were sleeping. So that's the one thing, is it's strengthening each individual's intuition. The second thing that is going on with this is showing you that for probably the last 50 years, the people that you thought you knew were not the people you knew. The people that you thought you could trust were not the people you could trust. And I believe at this time in the energy of the planet, everyone listening to me is like, yep, we know. Yep, we're aware. Yep, that's true. And it is true. But think about all of the thousands and millions of people that are just now beginning to awaken more so or understand this. So by me reiterating it again to you, even though it seems like you've heard it all many, many times before, it's putting it out in the airway frequencies so that it becomes easily or more readily available for those that are newly awakening or newly beginning to question things. So there have been so many times that when we look through the history of this planet, this planet is actually quite a fascinating planet if you want to know the truth about it. There have been times of massive, massive transition and integrations. There have been times of great simplicity and bliss that lasted for thousands of years or so. And then there has been turmoil and warfare off and on, and most extensively for the past thousands of years. I don't know how many thousands easily. It goes back to Atlantis, before Atlantis. There's some that say that was 12,000 years ago. There's some that say it was 25,000 years ago. When you consider what an eon is, which is about 26,000 years, that is a cycle in which there are certain things that come up. You guys have just finished an eon that goes back to Atlantis. So I would say from that time during Atlantis and even before the end of Atlantis, all that was taking place was already seeding the earth and seeding this planet and seeding the planets around you for the nefarious ones. They could not have taken over and done as much as they did without having support of one form or another. So there were planets that were also in alignment with that. There were ships that would kind of come and go. The Orion Wars, as you've heard them referred to, that was a very real thing. And all of that was taking place during these last 25,000 years. So when you have that type of warfare that's out in the universe, those energies are coming down onto you. When you have that type that was throughout your entire planet, people didn't know who to believe or what to trust. So they've been very hard on people, saying that what's the word, sheeple. Saying that they're like sheep, they just blindly follow and they don't think for themselves. Well, when you stop and think, what led to that? Well, what led to that was thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years of conditioning. People are saying it was only the last 100 years. No, siree. It was much longer than that. And this is something that has been, it would peak and then it would seem to get better and then it would peak, but it has not gone away completely. And this is one of the reasons why those people that have said this time of ascension is the final time, because if it could not be done on a permanent basis at this now time-space reality, then it would not be done. The planet would probably be destroyed, and it is not going to be destroyed. It is a beautiful planet, and humanity is going to survive and is going to prosper, as is this whole galaxy in which you are a part of, as is this entire universe of which you are a part of. So one person asked at some point, we work a lot with the Galactic Federation, the Federation of Light, these different words that people use, and some of them are different words for the same group of energies, but there have been people that have worked in support of, and I call them people, they're beings of light, that have worked in support of this planet from the time this planet had humanity upon it, which, is millions of years ago. So when the nefarious ones were so rampant, we're talking as they got started and things were coming up, they had their own group of individuals and people that they would reach out to and bring down nefarious beings. So when they talked about the ETs, or they talked about the non-terrestrials, or what name was, the name of the time, they were talking about these nefarious ones. During that time, also, in combat with them were the ones that were of the light. Now, this is where it can be very tricky sometimes. Sometimes they were a high vibrational frequency and could do things like teleport and mind control and stuff like that. But they did not have the light within them. They were service to self. They were filled with negativity. So you've been taught all this time that if you're of a high light vibration, then you're automatically of the light. But that is not always the case. So this is one of those things that may have been confusing to you at sometimes, because these individuals could come in and out of the planet. They would come through portals. They would come through many different things, and they would bring more people of the nefarious type into the planet, and they would take humanity from the planet out to use them as slaves. I only say this as a means of explaining why this, number one, to allow you to recognize that this is way more than the last 100 years, and to be compassionate and gentle as people are slow to wake up from that. But also for you to understand that when sometimes when these nefarious ones would talk about, our galactic beings, well, there were groups of ships, and there were groups of people, and even connected to other planets that they would tap into, that is similar to what you're tapping into, except for the fact that everything is of the light that you work with, and everything that they worked with was of the dark. Some could say that was the balance, the light and the dark, that was balancing itself in the way that it played out upon the earth plane. So they have worked very, very, very diligently for, it's hard to, I have a hard time really connecting with what, with the time. Sorry about that. But I'm still getting used to the time-space reality as you refer to it. But I do know that a lot has been centered in the United States. And so I'm going to speak about that for a minute. And it was started, that which has a letter of the alphabet. I have learned from Shelly, she said, don't get me taken down. Apparently she was already taken down on one of these platforms, and she's like, don't get me taken down. So that was actually begun as far back as when they signed the Constitution. When they already at that point, there were discussions, and there were people that wanted to immediately get rid of it and stay with the status quo. So from the time that it has been its own, what you call independent country, there have been people that have worked behind the scenes trying to make sure that it stays as what it is, which is that Republic of the United States. Okay, so what was I starting to say about that? So I am looking at those that you called it begins with a C and ends with an L. And that is what has been consciously removed for about 10 years now. It goes back to at least 2013, 14, maybe as much as 2015, that they began transitioning many of the CEOs of these big major companies. They began transitioning people that were working for these various people and taking them out systematically, one by one by one, or group by group by group. And when I look at it now, I see that there is like a shadow of it, you would call it, but I do not see the main players are on this planet anymore. I feel like all of those main players are gone and out from those that were the worst of the worst. However, the ones that are left behind, there is still money that was banked away. They still have money that was hidden, and they're still using that money to try to disrupt things and to try to keep things from happening. So one of the ways in which they're disrupting is with the weather patterns. The weather patterns have been manipulated for a very, very, very long time. And everyone keeps talking about it since World War II, but it was even before that that the weather was manipulated. And it's been manipulated almost all the time by the nefarious ones as a means of wreaking havoc or taking out a lot of people, or if they wanted to make a change to make people, what's the word we want to use? Like bind together over a disaster so that they could then turn around and, play their games that they like to play. So they have used weather manipulation for a very, very, very long time. When I'm looking at this year and what's going on, because I know there has been massive flooding. I've heard about it down in Australia. I've heard about it over in Europe. I've heard about it in China. I've heard about it in the United States. So all over different parts of the world, there has been massive flooding, and much of the flooding that has taken place is because they are getting rid of those underground bases, as they were called. Oops, I don't know if I can say that. Begins with a D and ends with a B. These human things are just ridiculous, but anyway, it is what it is. I'll play your games. Anyway, those were mostly created, and they go back several hundred years. There were some that were created 1,000 years ago or more, and because there have been nuclear blasts on this planet, and when those nuclear blasts took place, and when they knew that they were messing around with that, they already had things that were inside of mountains and inside of the earth. That was where some of the people would go. So everything that they said they wanted to do again this time had already been done before. And so that was already in there, but they have made it throughout the entire planet. They had made it way more of them than there used to be, with special places that would go into certain, like the house that's in the place where Washington, and that house, and places in these big cities, all in Switzerland, all in the other places where you've had royalty around. This is so hard. I don't know if I'm going to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a wave of energy and vibration that this comes across as neutral to anyone that might look at the frequencies or the codex or whatever it is that they might look at it, because this is too darn hard. Okay, so that being said, they have been systematically removing these for probably the last 7 years, 6 to 7 years. That has been going on for a very, very, to me, a very short period of time, but to you, a very long period of time. And so when they're collapsing some of these, it's felt like an earthquake. It's felt like it creates a chasm, and the water may come into it. But then there have been certain places that they have gone into recently where the nefarious ones had much of their, what's the word you want to call it? Their records or their things that were all about their organization. And that was not in the United States. That was over in, I guess the Middle East, or even east more of that. But anyway, in that part of the world, Kazakhstan, maybe something like that. And so they have been trying to remove and obliterate everything that would be incriminating to them. So that was one thing, that they did not get rid of all of their papers. That some of that was under the Vatican, some of that was under in London, in Washington, in these different places, and they've received and they've picked up many, many, many of those papers, and they are being systematically reviewed and stored and put in a place where they cannot be touched, and they will not be touched until a time that is absolutely the right time to bring that out. So that being said, some of these DUMBS that they have been clearing out have also been done with water, with flooding, because don't forget, the earth holds energy, the earth holds memory, and they have a lot of old memories and nasty, nefarious things that they have got to get rid of. And it feels like perhaps in Brazil or someplace like that, there still were a few of the reptilians there, and those have just recently been found, and they've been clearing them out. So it feels like there may have been some flooding there too. So this is happening all over the place, and it's in relationship to the DUMBS. It's clearing out the cellular memory of it. And here's what's happening. These nefarious ones are hearing about what's going on. They're hearing about these potential removal of the DUMBS. And so they're working with the weather in whatever way they can to try to make it worse than what it is. So some of these things are also showing where things, what you're going to find out, and you've seen it now, there's many people that are already aware of it, but what is going to come out is that this is where certain things were taking place, and then that is going to be used directly in what you call your trials. And when that comes out, then people are going to start saying, oh, that's why that flood took place. Oh, that's why that hurricane took place. Oh, that's why something happened. Many of you guys may already know that, but this is a big awakening for those that do not know it, because they can suddenly see and say, this is not real, this is not legitimate, this is not natural, so there must be something else behind it. But I will say this, every single time that the nefarious ones have tried to come in and really wreak havoc and take as many lives as possible, the white hats have come right behind them, and they have tried to minimize it as much as possible. Sometimes they're more successful than other times, but it always hurts everybody's heart when any life is taken. Oh, whew, this is so hard. This is a little bit hard, I'll tell you that. We're getting used to it, and I think it'll all be fine. But I think I'm just going to stop now, because I feel as if I'm rambling, and I don't know if I've been coherent. I know there were some questions that people had asked that Shelly put in here. So let me take a look at that. Is it good to buy cryptocurrency like XRP now? And if so, what platform is it safe to buy it from? So the cryptocurrency, I'm not going to say what platform because I have no idea. The cryptocurrency like XRP, let me look at that and see what comes to me. There are cryptocurrencies. There are many of them out there, and I can see a whole lot of them were created and there's nothing behind them. It's like people went on a craze when you started hearing about the transition of the quantum financial system and going back to that gold-backed standard. Then all of these cryptocurrencies popped up. They call them cryptocurrency, but I'm looking and I see many of them are just hollow shells. They're not legitimate. But XRP feels legitimate to me. I feel like Bitcoin was one of the first ones that they put out there, and they are either going to change the name of that, or it in and of itself will go away. So is this a time to buy cryptocurrency? If it's something that you've done your own research and you know on the earth plane what is the best way to handle it, then by all means go do invest in it. But there are many of these that are going to all become a part once the quantum financial system is, well, it is running. I can see it's running. But once they transition back to the gold standard, then what's going to happen is that many of these things, the cryptocurrency, the gold, the platinum, the many of these resources, they're all going to transition, and they may not have the same name. Some of them may go to nothing. They may not be worth anything, and others of them are going to be worth a great deal. So there's going to be a big transition coming about. Me personally, I feel like they're very volatile, and if you've got the money to invest in that, then by all means, if you choose to do so, go for it. But I feel as if there's such a big transition coming around, and many of the cryptocurrencies are going to go away. So so just be very careful and do your research, and only do that which is that you consider is safe for you, and you feel secure in doing so. But I wouldn't have the first idea of where to do something like that. There's a video that alleges bears are leaving Yellowstone, and it looks like it's AI generated. Do I have any thoughts on this? It is AI generated, and it's done to cause fear. Fear is still the biggest weapon of the nefarious ones. So anytime you see something, look at it from different angles. Well, first of all, just ask yourself, is that for real, or is that AI? And you begin to develop your own intuition, and you'll hear yes, no, whatever it may be. And if you get no, I think that might be legitimate, well, then look at it from a couple of different sources, and that will just reinforce it for you. But that feels to me like they were trying to scare people to think there is a massive volcano in Yellowstone, and if it were to erupt fully, then that would do massive damage for multiple states in that area. So that is what they were trying to say, and it was AI generated with the intention of creating fear. And so I would not give it another thought. So there was a question I saw somewhere about volcanoes and eruptions, and there are many volcanoes that are erupting, but that one is not. I can say that there's always magma underneath the surface that is bubbling away, but I do not see that that's going to be okay. I do see there were some nefarious ones that wanted to manipulate it and force it to erupt, but that they can't get to it. They're not going to be able to do that. So I don't see that happening. And I don't see that one erupting at any time in the near future. Ezra has posted that something huge will come forward between July 13th and July 21st. Do you have any idea of what something monumental that's happening? Let me tap into Ezra to see who that is. I'm not sure. Okay. So as far as the individual that many people have been talking about, and he's been in the news for many, many different years, for probably 5 years now, 6 years. He's a distraction, and everything that they're saying about that is done specifically as a distraction. And there is a great deal of arrest and transitioning and things that are being done in the background. There are a number of individuals that are going to come out that as being part of these nefarious dealings, but I don't know who said it. I think Brysentia or somebody else said that that was done in part to force people to pay attention, to stand up and say, no, you can't tell me that. No, I'm not going to believe that. And force people to think independently or think for themselves, as opposed to just going along with everybody else. So when I tap into what this individual was talking about, I feel as if it's some of the information that was covering up, and some of the information that was around that. I feel like that has the potential to come out that's basically in the next week. I also feel that the, what is that thing called, where they tell people about what's going on? That's not ready to come out right now. It's been revised, I think countless numbers of times, but that will come out. They have to show some sort of a big event before, or multiple big events before that can come out. And so I do see that the potential is there, that there may be something around financial status, and there are so many moving parts to everything happening on your planet that you can't stop and say it's just one, or it's just this, it's just that. There are so many different things that are happening right now, and it's really hard for any one person to keep up with all of it. So my take on what this individual was tapping into is that there's a spike in energy that I see coming, and that spike of energy is related to, I think, most likely things that have been said in the past that are going to be brought forward in the future. And I think it's also about revealing some of what was kept hidden for a very long time. So those are the two primary things that I see that this is related to. But I do also feel like the quantum financial system is what is functioning in the background. I know for many, many years, you had two of them running kind of side by side. That other one is completely gone, turned off. It's been gone for at least 2 years. And what you see now is only the quantum financial system. But when they come out and when they talk about the global reset and when they talk about, they have also gotten rid of the fiat currency as they talk about it. But all of this is what's been happening in the background that has not been told to all of humanity. So this is why I think it's something that's been going on in the background is going to come out. So I do believe that there will be a great deal more disclosure. Don't discount all of the disclosure that's been coming out, some of it in the background, some of it in the foreground, because that's putting it into the consciousness. And as people talk about it, and then they blog about it, and then they comment on it, all of that is just giving it the energy it needs so that more and more people can find out about it. So there's a big potential that something's coming up. I see a spike in energy coming up. And so what you can do is when you hear stuff, there may very well be times you go into, oh my goodness, but then come back to center, come back to balance, and always know that you are not going to go backwards. You can only go forward, and forward includes the higher vibrational frequencies and the higher vibrational light. Okay. This one is asking, how is Mr. T doing? Understandable, because there's been so much going on, correct? He is exhilarated. What a funny way. He likes nothing better than moving the pieces around on the chessboard. And he, when I just tapped into it, he says, oh, this is really getting good now. So he feels, he's been very, very patient, as you know. And so all of the preparation work and everything that's been leading up to this, the message I'm getting from him and everyone that's around him, which is a massive group of people from the galactic beings to the ascended beings to the white hats to the people working within around him. So anyway, he's very clearly looks ecstatic. He's tired, but he looks ecstatic. We remember looking at him another time when I was transitioning with Albayon, and I had a sense of him just being exhausted and when was this going to end and how much longer can we keep this up? He knew he would keep it up no matter how long it took. But the way he's reacting today, he's thrilled, he's ecstatic, he's no longer tired. So I'm going to interpret that we are getting very close to the end. And by the end, I mean full disclosure, so everybody knows what's going on, so that they can reset the money, so that the money comes back into humanity, so that, that they're broken and those people are removed completely. Just speaking of the people that are in your government, the Congress, I think it's called, and the Senate, there was so much corruption that it would have literally collapsed the entire government had they just blasted it all out to everybody. And that corruption went from those that were massively involved in all the littles and all of the other thing that was going on to those that just simply knew about it but looked the other way as their hands were greased. So it was a massive number. And as I'm looking at that now, I'm feeling it's much lower. It's more like maybe 20%. And it could have been as high as 90% at one point. And I'm hearing 20, when I'm looking at that. So this is all about stability. This is about understanding. And so I'm asking each of you to keep the faith and to know that you are at the end, because it is all going to be fine. Whew. Okay, and then the next one is for Brysentia. So I don't know if other people ask questions. I'm really sorry. It's very confusing here. Let's see. Will we be able to travel 4356? Will we be able to travel instantly on some sort of a bilocation device? And will a passport or a driver's license be needed when we're 100% in the 5D? What a great question. Yes, all of that will happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. You need to have a consistent high vibrational frequency in order to bilocate, because that takes your soul and your consciousness to be able to be in two places at the same time. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. I do know that I am seeing that there are many different cars or trucks or buses or different devices that are like hovercrafts, as you call them. They don't have the wheels, and they, so they interact with the magnetics of the earth. So they act differently than the types of cars and buses that you have now. However, even that feels like it's 10 to 15 years in the future. It could all come much, much, much more quickly. But at this point, I don't see it happening anytime imminently. And as to needing license, I have no idea. That's what you have now as a means of keeping order. But I do feel like there's a lot of transition in the background. So maybe that's something that will transition. But at this point, I don't see that going away per se. What is the single most significant misconception humanity holds about its own multidimensional nature? And what would be the most effective way to begin dissolving that misconception? Well, the number one misconception in humanity is that you're less than. The number one misconception is that there's just this lifetime, and whatever you learn in this lifetime. And I know everyone here, that you come from a soul, and then that soul is big, and that you have multiple lifetimes. So you're kind of at the head of that. But when you ask about what's humanity's perception, it's that you think that the universal beings are more than you are. They are not. They are equal to you. It's that you think that the ascended masters, they transcended off the earth. They're better than me. They are not. You can do that too. So the biggest misconception that people have is thinking they are less than, when the truth of the matter is every single human, you have a soul, you have consciousness, you have the ability to make choices. So you are massive individuals, and it's really important for you to give yourself the acknowledgement of that and come to that understanding. And when you do, you will recognize that you're more than just the person in this room right here. Right here, you're also your higher self, you're also your soul, and you interact from all those different levels and more. Okay. Albayon, I am so sad. My sister and my husband will not talk to me anymore because I am not on the same page with them. I keep holding strong with President Trump, and they seriously hate him. I've tried to have them think differently, but to no avail. They listen to the news and cannot believe the news would lie to them. Please tell me that this is going to change within a month or two. I am so sad, and I don't know how much longer I can handle it. Well, let me first and foremost, to all of you that are in that same position, just send you love, light, compassion. Just feel as it emanates from me. Feel the acknowledgement for the challenge that so many of you have had. It's been sometimes coworkers, it's been family, in this case, their spouse of many, many years. And it's on every different level. So I understand that, and I have seen that, and I just send love to all of you. When I look at humanity, and maybe Brysentia will have more to say about this, but when I look at humanity, I feel as if they have come so far from where they were just 20 to 30 years ago. And the reason for that is that I see so much of the higher vibrational frequencies coming into the earth plane. These vibrations could not come in unless humanity was awake and ascended enough for them to come in, including me being able to come in and talk and become a part of this group energy. So that's telling you that, yes, humanity is ascending. Yes, they are moving into this reality, this new reality of what the earth is coming. So I'm just saying that so that we're all on the same page of that understanding and awareness. What I would just say to you is just there are cords that are connected between everybody. And I'm sure it's even harder when it's really close relatives like that. But just disconnect these cords because their energy is literally like a dart or a spear or, something sharp coming into you and just shredding your consciousness and your energy at times. So just disconnect as much as you can, as often as you can. Just enclose them in a bubble of light and love, and just don't engage as much as you can. Don't engage. Don't bring it up. I don't think you do. But every time they turn around and try to attack you, just say, okay, your belief or my belief, and just move on, or something to that effect. Just, literally put your hand up. Nope. Okay. And then move on. And if they rant and rave, walk out of the room. Walk out of the house, do whatever you need to do, but that helps you to disengage from them. But that disconnecting the cords and disconnecting the energy, when people are scared and afraid and mad and depressed and any of those things, they're sending out cords of energy and light, trying to pull people down into that vibration and frequency. So by you disconnecting, letting it go, and staying present in your own light vibration and frequency, that keeps you in the better place of where you can be, and it keeps them from being able to pull you down to their level. I'm also hearing if you can put some crystals around the house, if you can sage the house, if you can do other things to shift the energy in the house in a physical way, that would also be very helpful to you. So hopefully, I'm getting a feeling that these individuals and many of the other individuals, even when the big disclosure comes out, they're still not going to believe it. They're still going to say it's a bunch of lies. It's not true. So don't expect that when that disclosure comes out, suddenly the light's going to go off in everybody, because it's not. But it will make a change, and there will be, because there's so many people that even though they're ferociously against something, in the back of their mind, they're realizing, okay, I can't really complain about that. I can't really, so there will come a transition. And we have tried multiple times to remove the veil that keeps people in this low negative vibration, but they just keep pulling it back on. So, it will change and it will happen, but it's just hard. It just takes time. So hang in there. Okay, someone else is saying her sister doesn't talk to her either. All right, so those look like all the questions. So thank you for this introduction. I think I've spoken a very long time, but it is a pleasure to meet all of you. I am putting forth my intention that I'm available. If you seek me out, then ask for me to come in. I'm working very hard. This vibration of this planet is not quite high enough that I can manifest a physical presence, but I will try to send a hologram. I will try to send, communication in your meditations or your prayers or your dreams or whatever it may be. But my intention is to be here, to be in support of humanity and assist with this final phase of this transition. Thank you for welcoming me so warmly. I can feel your love, and I am ever with you. Ansaluia. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. Whew. I'm adjusting. You know how it is when you say, maybe you have a really close family, or maybe you've been working with individuals, or, there's so many different things. And then suddenly something new comes into the dynamic and it shifts and changes all the dynamics for everything. So that's what I feel like right now. I love his energy. I know that this is going to be something that will also uplift not only all of us, but all of you. He's Crystallia is Crystallia. That's a given. But he is closer to her vibration, and I am closer now to humanity's. I still vibrate at like, in my own intrinsic place. I'm more like the 8th or ninth dimension, but he's probably closer to the ninth or 10th until he brings himself down. So I would be willing to guess that was very hard for him to come down as much as he had to be able to communicate like that. But I say these and they're all just numbers and words, and they may not really mean too much of anything. But as you like as an example, that person that just spoke about that, she's trying to vibrate very much and stay consistently at like that nice solid 5th dimensional frequency, maybe even leaning up, is what I'm seeing in her vibration. And then when she's around these people that are trying to drag her back down, the 3rd dimension is gone. So we're talking the lower 4th dimension. It's a big change. And it's like, what is it? You scrape your fingernails on the board, or you have those EBGBs. So just do whatever it is that you need to do. And each one of you are, you're on a beautiful path, and you're coming very, very far. All right. Now, I did want to talk a little bit more about these earth changes that are going on. So there is, when we look in at the tunnels that are inside of the earth, there are many tunnels that Albayon mentioned have been there for thousands and thousands of years. But the people that have been here as a part of this most recent transition, as those that are the nefarious ones, they put in massive numbers of tunnels in a very short period of time. And truth be known, they are not as stable as what was created in this planet many, many thousands of years ago. So one of the reasons why, there's multiple reasons why they want to take these tunnels out, but in a lot of them, it is because there's an instability. There are many places around the planet that people were mining for gold, and they were mining for silver. We're talking about in what you call your 1800s and stuff like that. And they had those tunnels that went in to take the minerals from the earth. And some of those tunnels were what then became part of a bigger network and linked these DUMBS together. So what I see, and going back, I believe we said it many, many years ago, all that flooding that they've had in Australia, is that Australia was one of the most infected, if you want to call them that, by these nefarious ones, and creating a place underground where the negative people could go. Side note here. Can you just imagine if that had taken place? Here you've got the nastiest, most self-serving people ever, and they're all stuck with each other underground and can't go up on ground if the nuclear bombs had really gone off. It almost makes me laugh to see how they would just eat themselves, like whatever they'd kill each other off. Oh my God, that would have been a horrible thing, but not going to happen. Or they would have truly been the food of the reptilians that were in charge at that time. Anyway, so this, as the planet has got to become stabilized in order to integrate these higher vibrational frequencies. And that is what this is all about. This is stabilizing the planet, and it's working with Gaia, and Gaia is working with the indigenous people all around the planet. Those from the Aborigines, as they're called in Australia, are continuing with their beat of the energy, sending it out. And now as I look, I see multiple other places around the planet. They've also joined in. And so what's happening is, with their hitting of the staffs into the earth and sending out the vibration that it's sending out, it's awakening the elders throughout the planet. And so these elders are coming back in each of the various countries with which they were associated. And they are also working with the energy of that area in which they lived. You can each think of where you live, what country you are in, and you can think of those places that just were part of the ancient civilizations. And oftentimes that is where they are located. So if you're thinking, well, I want to go out and see them, I want to communicate with them, they're vibrating at about the 7th dimension. So you're not going to see them there, but they are still having enough of an effect. And some of this is actually what's creating the breakdown of some of these DUMBS, because like I said, they were not created correctly, or not correctly, that's not the word. They were created too quickly and they weren't stable enough. So some of them are crumbling and falling apart. But there is a network of energy that is trying to stabilize everything around around humanity that's living here on the surface. You could also say that the Lemurians that are inside of the planet are also sending out these waves of energy that is like giving it energetic support from the inside of the planet also. Okay, so I did want to share about that. Oh, so I do know that it is getting to the place where those that you call the political people are now going to have much more about removing those people that are putting the chemicals in the sky, not only to destroy your crops, but also, well, fertilize your crops, as they called it, but also to create these changes in these weather patterns. It's not only HARP, it's HARP in association with some of the seeding of these areas. Now, that in and of itself had the potential to be helpful. Like if you have a place that is without any water for whatever their reason is, and they work with what the clouds are to try to bring water to a region, you say, oh, well, who could be unhappy about that? Well, you're unhappy about it because it's still manipulation. It's still control and manipulation. And that is the vibration and frequency that is being removed from the planet. So for any of those people that see something happening and you think, oh my goodness, was that? Yep, probably it was. And I do affirm, just as what Alexander was saying, that the nefarious ones may start out with this, but it's the good people, or the white hats, if you want to call them that are actually coming in very close on their heels and stabilizing things as much as they can. Okay, there was a question, and I think it's in there, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. Talking about volcanoes, like that one image that someone had said, or a video that showed like bears and different large animals that were leaving Yellowstone. That was AI, that was fake. But I have seen that some of the patterns of migration in different parts of the planet are changing now. As you recall, I've said it's been thousands of years worth that the magnetism of the planet is shifting as the energy of the poles are shifting. So that's going to change the migration patterns. That is also a part of what is changing the Earth itself too. So it would be normal to have volcanoes, earthquakes, water projects and things like that. So this is where it all becomes so complicated, does it not? And this is where some of the people that are saying, oh, well, you could write this off as normal. But thankfully, humanity is so awake now that you're not going to buy it anymore. And all it takes is there's probably hundreds of thousands of you that are very well aware of this, if not millions around the world. They're probably closer to millions that are now talking to each other on your social media. You're talking on these different things and you're sharing. No, I don't believe that. No, I'm not going to go for that. No, that's not it. And that is making a big, big, big difference. Okay. So I was going to talk about the volcanoes. There are several volcanoes that are going to be erupting. I feel like the one in Alaska might. I feel like there's one in Russia. I feel like there's one in China. I feel like there's one down close in Australia and another one in South America. So like, as I'm looking at the planet, I just see these spotted at different places. Now, just because a volcano erupts, it does not mean that it's going to be a massive eruption that's going to change everything. What I see this means is that some of them, it is an awakening that is taking place. And in this awakening, it's the shift in the plates that are inside of that volcano. Because in every volcano, they may say it's dormant, but there is always lava at the center of it. And so as these tectonic plates are shifting and adjusting, that lava that's the center of it continues to move and shift and transition as a result of these changes. Now, And a lot of this is happening. So here's where, is someone splitting hairs? Are they not? Many of the weather patterns that you have experienced have been accentuated or amplified because of the nefarious ones and because of the bigger picture of having to clear out these DUMBS that are around the world. So that's happening. What the volcano is doing is it doesn't know what's causing it. It doesn't know if it's if it's manipulated or not manipulated. It's just reacting to what's happening on the planet. So it's hard for me to say, oh yes, that's all due to manipulation, because it's reacting to what's going on the planet. And no matter what is behind what's going on the planet is changing. It's changing physically, it's changing energetically, it's changing from the dimensions that are within and upon the earth. And all of it is just rebalancing and going to come to a new space. So as Albayon spoke about the ending of the eon, it hasn't been that many years, and there's probably 100 years overlap that you're still in the process of transitioning. So, so you are still in the process of clearing out from that last eon and anchoring and seeding the earth with all of the energy and vibration of the current eon, which is the time of peace, balance, and abundance, and all of these things that you are seeking. So because I heard someone ask it, I'm just going to acknowledge it. No, you will never go back to the control and manipulation, because it is no longer supported on this planet. And there was always something underlying every time that they went into a time of peace and balance and prosperity. There was always an underlying vibration and frequency. This is now being cleared out throughout every level. It is being cleared out in your galaxy. It is being cleared out throughout the universe. So there is no way that it can come back in, because the vibration will be too high. And some of you, oh my gosh, you're gonna get so mad at me for saying this. Some of you will go to another universe because you want to go through all this again. Yes, I see it. I see it in many of your places. But the earth is a special place, and it will become even more special as time goes on. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and open this up to questions. I don't know how many questions there were for me. I know that one was about the volcanoes. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, what is going on with the volcanoes? Okay, so took care of that. That was my only one for them. So, okay, that is about that. I think, it's so hard for Shelly to look at these. Let's see. I think this might be a new one. What quality will become most essential for humanity to cultivate in the next decade? Okay, I would say the quality of love. If you just take one word and you want to say, how can I transition, everything? Love is the foundation of everything that is transitioning here. And if you have love in your frequency, in your heart, in your mind, in your consciousness, that's going to lead to compassion. That's going to lead to generosity. That's going to lead to everything that is uplifting and supportive of you as you are moving forward in your life. So if you want just one thing, then I would say, seek to have love be the foundation for everything that you do in your life. Okay, someone asked about what will happen to New York City. Okay, let me take a look at that. New York City, when I look at it, I see two things. On the surface, as I'm looking at it, I see it as something that is at a critical point in evolution. It has the potential to completely fall apart, to completely go into I mean, it's been pretty bad for the last 8 to 15 years or so, in terms of having, what's that word called, when the negative people just take over and the laws are disregarded. I see it in California, and I'm seeing it in New York City. And I know there is a big election coming up. And if the Muslim person, I don't know the name, so I apologize for that. But if he does win the election, which I see he is controlling and manipulating, and they're paying things off, and if he does get in, I feel like it will be because of corruption will get him into that. Then he will just take away the rights of people. He will take away the rights. It's like they'll try to go backwards. So when I look at New York, this is what I see as the most eminent potential. However, when you take a step back and you say, okay, this is what the energy is putting out. This is what the media is putting out. This is what people are putting out. When I stand back and I look at New York as a whole and as a consciousness, I feel like they're not going to let that happen. And maybe that will be the first place that is going to come out about the corruption in the elections, because there've been times they've said that the elections were corrupted for a very long time, but nobody believed it because there were too many people that were in power. So they may use that as an example of the corruption getting people elected, and that may be the stepping stone, or the stone that starts the downhill travel, and it'll pick up more and more and more as it goes on. So I think then when I look at it now, it feels like chaos. When I look at it 6 months down the road, I see, especially because there's a lot of people that absolutely love New York. They have been there for generation upon generation. And I really feel like a lot of those are the ones that are saying, what the heck is going on? We cannot let this happen. So speak up, put in the energy of, we're not going to have this. We want our, well, when you talk about democracy, that's the majority. Well, right now, the majority is the negative. So it's that they would say this is what the democracy wants. But what we're looking at is we want to see the balance to be renewed, to be rejuvenated. We want the balance to come in, to be anchored in these areas. There's just so much lying and corruption. It's just hurtful. And we want that to be exposed. Okay. Is RFK Jr. coming back? No. JFK Jr. coming back August 1st as VP or president? Absolutely not as president. I'm not even sure if vice president. I'm not even sure he's going to come back. There's been a lot of talk about this. There's a lot of people that speak for him. But he likes being in the background. He likes being a part of this. He likes to be a part of everything that's going on, but there's a very strong sense that he does not want to be at the forefront, and he does not want to put himself out there again. So we do see the potential that maybe vice president, but we feel as if more so he's going to remain in the background. But I don't even see any of that happening on August 1st. I feel like that would be further down the road. We've already answered that one. Okay. Oops. What is happening to Alcatraz? Is that a calm to tell people about adrenachrome and human organ harvesting? Shelly's getting really tired. This is very hard going back and forth here. So this is going to be the last question like this, I think, because I don't know. I need to take a minute here to see what. By Alcatraz, are you talking about the one in Florida or the one in San Francisco? Okay, let me just look at both. So the organ harvesting has been coming up more and more and more lately in the discussion from people. And the organ harvesting and what's done to the littles are they're not hand in hand. They're not, you know, exact, but there is some connection to them. And I do feel that there is information that's coming out about the organ harvesting. I see this person said in San Francisco. So underneath San Francisco was a massive dump. It was huge. And parts of that have been taken out. And in parts of that, they did see the organ harvesting and they did see a lot of the nefarious stuff. Much of that was actually taken out back in 21, 22, something like that, several years ago is my point. And so I cannot say exactly when that's going to happen. I do see that part of San Francisco, especially under the Bay, there was a lot of nefarious activities under the city. And they already have earthquakes in that area quite consistently, but I feel like there could be one coming up, or there could be some flooding coming up in that area. But the information about the children and about the harvesting, that is going to come out. I'm not seeing a good time frame. It could come up as quickly as this next couple of weeks or so, with this big blast with Albayon when he saw that spike in energy. But I'm just not 100% sure when that's going to come about. I will say it will come out this year. I will say I feel like it's going to come out before September. So maybe in the next week or two, maybe it'll be another month or so down the road. But I don't feel as if it's coming out by itself. I feel like it's coming out as a part of a bigger picture, that there'll be other things that they'll be talking about and they'll be disclosing. And this is a big part of that. It feels like it has to do with Planned Parenthood. It feels like it has to do with a lot of these things that they have been pushing for so very long. But I do feel as if the information about that will come out. And if you stop and think about it, there's so much information that needs to come out, and it is very, very overwhelming. So there will be information, but as to exactly what it is, I'm not 100% sure at this point. Okay, well, this is just really hard. So I think I'm going to let Crystallia go ahead and come in. And I thank you for this opportunity on Saluia. Greetings, it is I, Crystallia. I'm going to just flow the energy of light and love. I'm going to flow the energy of potentials, opportunities, just so much of what is coming your way. One of the things that is a good question for people to ask is when they say, well, I don't know what question to ask. And that's because I don't know what I don't know. And one of the things that humanity doesn't know is that it's so close. It's like you're stepping on it right now. And some of you can stand and put your feet in the water, and it is that close. It is so imminent. And you get caught up in your daily life and you think, oh my gosh, we're never going to get there. Oh my gosh, there's this horrible stuff going on. So I do not say that there are not horrible things going on. Does that come out? I know that horrible things are going on, and I know that horrible things are happening. But one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself is to get to the point where you can say, oh, yes, that's happening over there. Oh, that's happening with the media. Oh, that's happening, whatever it may be. But always, always, always come back and take at least a portion of every day that you allow yourself to be nurtured, that you allow yourself to be in a space of meditation, and that you bring movement into your life. Because movement, meditation, however you can nurture yourself, is going to make you feel better. And what I keep hearing from people is, but there's so much bad stuff out in the world. Yes, there is. But focusing on it dwelling on it, obsessing about it is not helping you or even the situations that you're obsessed with. So always, always, always understand what has been happening and what is going to happen, because it's only going to get worse when they just imagine everyone's response when they do start talking about this, when they do start putting this information out there. People are going to be devastated. People are going to feel overwhelmed. And so they'll need you more than ever. They will need those of you that are in this highlight vibration to say, it's already happened. It's already over. It's already done. Remember to come back to this space. And this is one of the reasons why there was some discussion. Are they going to make some of the tribunals as if they're happening right now? Or are they going to say, no, it already happened. This is the video of what happened. This is the information of what happened. And so the reason for that is that then people can say, but that happened 5 years ago. That happened 8 years ago. And you are already behind it. So that will help the healing process and help things to go much more quickly. There will be certain things that will happen in the now moment. So it's very important for you to understand that not everything is going to be in the past, but there will be enough, and it will help that you can move forward and you can stay in your light frequency. Right now, there is such a division in people. There are so many people that they are simply reacting to their own reality. And in their reality, they don't see the light. They don't see the potential. They don't see these opportunities that are coming their way. So I feel love and compassion for them because they are simply living their life's experience. But if think about it, because I think every one of you have been there at one point or another in your life when you're just spinning your wheels and turning in circles and like, when is this ever going to stop? And when am I ever going to be beyond this? You will be. You need to look outside. You need to look at something different. You need to recognize that we are implementing something that is so huge and so massive that it's more than what your minds are able to comprehend. So that's when you have to go into that space of understanding and awareness. You have to go into that space of your soul. You have to go into that space where you're linked into the universal light and the universal love, because in that place, you understand that no matter what is happening in my daily life, I, as a soul, am still filled with that God love, that God light, that universal energy. And I am anchoring it into the earth. When we look at the light codes that are coming in, look at the sun, look at the central sun, look at the stars, the planets. There is so much energy that is being sent into this planet. Some of it is just like impulses of light. Like, you know how you see that meteor that goes across the sky? Well, some of those are coming in and they're bringing in energy. They're bringing in vibration and frequency and potential. And when it comes into the earth plane, it just spreads out into different locations. Now, some of it may be just hanging out, waiting for someone to reach up and grab it and integrate it inside of them. So that's why each one of you have a very important lesson or a very important opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to search for what's around me. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to anchor it. I'm going to be in the space that I can at least love, nurture, and support myself as best I can, more so than what I've done in the past. Because truly, 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 we can sit here and say, yes, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. But when you talk about the minutia and the everyday things that have to change, that's when your mind and your ego gets caught up in it. So let it go. Let it go. Don't worry about the minutia. Don't worry about these things. Understand it as much as you need to for your everyday reality, but then just let it go, because otherwise you will just bring your own vibration down. Okay. I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk about. So kind of speaking about like Albayon and the change that he himself has gone through, it's as much him, yes, on his own personal journey, but it's also about Shelly and her journey. Shelly, as the individual that is channeling us, that means that she has a relationship to us, or whatever being she's working with, like if it's her group that she does with the private sessions. But her vibration hers or anybody that's channeling, the vibration of that individual can open up or diminish the amount of energy that you align with whomever it is that you're speaking with. So if somebody is in a space and perhaps they've been growing, expanding, learning something new, if you get stagnant and you keep reaching out to a same vibration, you don't understand all the time that you are actually, your vibration is growing and growing and growing, and you are integrating all these things. So I speak of Shelly, but I speak of all of you also. So when it feels as if, gee whiz, my prayers are different, my meditations are different, my dreams are different, my everyday feelings are different, when you are feeling this on every single level of your being, understand that it may be just one of those or it may be all of them. But what you are doing is you are changing the energy, the frequency, the reality from all the way out to the tiniest minute particle to the most solid aspect of your physical reality. And you need to always find that place of balance. You need to find that place of where you can be connected to the individuals around you. You can be connected into your job, your family, your life, but yet you can also be in that one vibrational alignment that is with your soul. I know that billions of people are on this planet that never give one single thought of what's my soul, what's my relationship with my soul. So maybe sometimes that causes people to think, not my thing. But spirituality is that relationship with your soul. And when you talk about that relationship with your soul, you're talking about you as the soul essence that came from the central sun, that came from that God source, and that which is so massive and infinite that it's more than what you can comprehend. So you understand the bits and pieces of it. So when people talk about spirituality, then begin to talk about it as terms of what is that greater feeling I get when I think of maybe God. But there you run that tricky place where God, most people think is something outside of them. But when you can talk about something that is of a high vibration or spiritual, and then figure out how to bring it into yourself, into your everyday reality, then that becomes something that you can work with the millions or billions of people that are around here. Sometimes it's just about doing something extra during the day. Say, for example, you help someone that needed assistance on the street. That's you tapping into your spirituality and giving of yourself to someone else with no expectation. So when you begin to think about what in my daily life can I do that is giving of myself without expectation, begin to consider that as another part of your day. And that's something that these people that don't think of spirituality as connecting to my soul or my universal self or my God self, then that is another way that they can begin to consider spirituality. There is going to be a big transition in the religions of the planet, in all of them, because all of them have the wonderful, beautiful part that is supportive of its people, and they also have that dogmatic, controlling, manipulative side of it. So this contrast is something that is going to be made known to everyone. And as people begin to say, well, then what's the truth? What do I do? Well, people learn how to listen to themselves and listen to what makes you feel good, what is uplifting to you, what gives you joy. And gosh, as soon as I said that, I could see a whole group of people that are like, oh, but I have to do this. I should do this. I'm meant to do this, as if they're disconnecting from themselves because of programming that they've had. So as you begin to release programming, or the people around you are releasing program, one of the other things you can do is learning to listen to yourself and what brings you happiness, what brings you joy, what stimulates your mind, what stimulates your heart. And that is what is also getting you in alignment with your spirituality. So let's start talking about alternative ways, because you all know exactly the most direct route. But let's start talking about alternative ways that you can talk to people that that will bring spirituality into them, each of them as themselves, because that's going to be a big part as we start moving forward. All right. I think there was one question right up at the very beginning. It was actually just a nice, lovely compliment, but I'll go ahead and say it. Crystallia, I just want to thank you for sharing your insight with us. It is so positive and loving, and we all need it to keep your light on us. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's always nice to understand, you know, that to have people that understand my part of this whole job that we're doing here. So thank you for that very loving thought. Okay, I don't know if I can do these things. Let's see. I'll try. Is the Prime Minister from Spain disappearing soon? There are many individuals, France, Spain, Great Britain, all of that European continent is going to go through a massive change. And I really see this rise underneath that is getting themselves in place. So it feels like it's going to be fairly smooth when it comes up. But Spain and France and UK, those three in particular are just, you know, standing out. And all of them feel like they could be as soon as the next 3 to 4 weeks. Definitely, it feels like before November timeframe. It feels like it's between now and November. So yes, that is happening, and that is going to happen. And so just continue to shine the light that all of that nefarious information does come out. Is it true that in July 17th, the Earth will experience a major solar flash or flare, which is tomorrow? There have been multiple different, no, my answer is no, because I think what this individual is talking about is they want that one that feels as if everybody's sitting in their homes and there's this big bright flash that everybody in the entire planet all see at the same time, and it completely transitions and changes the vibration of the Earth. And no, I don't see that happening tomorrow. However, look at what the last 3 weeks have been. If you look back to when was your equinox? The 21st, I believe. If you look back to before the 21st and to where you are now, your Earth has made a significant transition, and there have been multiple influxes of light that have come in. So is there another one today or tomorrow? Of course, because they're constantly coming in. So yes, I would absolutely say there will be an influx. But if this person is asking, is there going to be that one big one that gets rid of all the NPCs and gets rid of all those people that have not ascended? No, that's not going to happen. And I don't think it's going to happen at all, at least not at this time. And there's some, I just feel like it's going to be more of these impulses that come in and do transitions and stuff, rather than something that would be as traumatic as taking out thousands or millions of people. So I don't see it happening like that. All right, well, I'm just going to bring this to an end then. Thank you all so very much for being here. I truly appreciate these conversations, as do the other two. But really, there's so much that you don't know. And that's okay, because you don't know what you don't know. But what I want you to understand is that there's a lot that you do know there in your unconsciousness, and it's coming forward and it's coming into you. So if you begin to notice things you didn't notice before, if you begin to have understanding of whatever it may be, then know you're absolutely on course, that everything is happening exactly as it needs to. And this disclosure is going to come out 100%. It just has to. There may be some of it that will not come out. I take it back. It won't be 100%. There will be a lot that will be kept hidden because it's so horrific, but everybody will know and understand what's been going on, and that much disclosure will come out. So be the stabilizers, be the individuals that live in the balance of love, and know that love transitions out and emanates out from all of you, and you will make a massive difference. Believe in yourself, believe in how big you are, and know that we're all here with you on Pleawe. Whew. Wow. Whew. Okay, this is Shelly back now. That was interesting. Very, very, very cool energy. I really liked it. This was really hard for me tonight, so that's just the way it's going to be sometimes. Sometimes it seems easy, sometimes it seems a little more challenging. But anyway, thank you for your patience. Please be sure to subscribe. Please know that there's so much going on, and I really appreciate every single one of you, because we're all in this together, and we are all here in support of one another. Thank you so much. I'll see you later. Bye.